let's talk linebacker position groups. We're going to get into previewing each position group, each room, and we want to talk about the linebackers. That's not the buck position. The buck position will be discussed with the defensive line, right? So we're talking strictly linebackers. Before we get into each individual like player and dive into it, your thoughts about this position group going into the season. What are your thoughts? How you feel about it? Do you feel good about it? Are there some concerns there? How are you feeling about linebackers in 2024?
This is the first season I've been able to say this in a while. I feel good about where Auburn is at linebacker going into this season.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure last year, but I was cautiously optimistic last year because I was like, okay, Austin Keys is coming in. I think he's gonna be good, but I don't really know what else beside him. I wasn't as gung ho about Larry Nixon as a lot of people were last year. I was like, oh, I think he's gonna be okay. I think he'll be solid, but like, I don't feel like he's a game changer. And the revelation of Eugene Asante had not happened yet, right?
Right.
So you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be Wesley Steiner there, and you're just like, I don't. And then Robert Woodyard didn't look great in the spring. He looked slow, so I was like, I don't know, right? So like, I heard good things about Asante and his energy and all that, but I just didn't know what kind of player he was going to be. I expected him to pay more dividends that first year when he was
Right.
here under coach,
Right.
and then it never happened on the field. So I'm like, what's the disconnect between this guy who's playing in Gene Chiswick's defense in at North Carolina? And I'm like, okay, so I know he's got to at least have some defensive pedigree because Chiz
Right.
don't play about defense, bro. So if he's coming out of a Chiz defense, he's got to be a player. So I'm thinking, all right, cool. But then he never sees the field that first year after he transfers. And I'm like, all right, does he just,
Is,
is there something
is he
else
gonna
going on
hit the
here?
portal? Right. I
Yeah.
didn't know if he was going to hang
And
around.
yeah. So like I didn't know what the deal was with Asante at that point in time. And so you're left with again Austin Keys, who had not played a lot at Ole Miss, but felt good about what his abilities were coming over from another SEC school, albeit broken ugly school. They're, still cool. He's there, he's able to play. And then you have Wesley Steiner, who again I wasn't very high on. So I'm just like, and then Cam Riley, who had been up and down in his career. You didn't really know. This is the first year I've had the ability to go into the season and say I feel good about where Auburn is at linebacker,
Okay.
right? And as far as concerns, the other side of that coin, Austin Keys has not been healthy a lot in his collegiate career, right? And so, good football player, can he stay healthy and stay on the field? Eugene Asante had a good season last
Yeah.
year, had some issues with being out of position every now and then, and tackling at some points in time wasn't like his strongest situation in some of the open field situations, but he is a freaking laser targeted. Like when he's a missile when he is locked in, right? And
Right.
so he's going to be a playmaker, I think, in this defense. And I love what DJ Durkin does with front seven and linebacker. So I'm expecting a lot from him this season to make his case for why he should be an NFL linebacker because he has all of the tools that you want. He's got the right attitude. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And I like the addition of Mousy, right? So I know we're going to get more into some of the names specifically, but I like the addition of him as a guy coming in as a senior. So I feel good, and then the young talent is good. You've got some young, talented guys that can come in and really give you, I think, some quality minutes this year. And I love Robert Woodyard. So I'm looking forward to seeing this room. I haven't been able to be excited about linebacker in a while, right? Because once you know, when you really understand defense, you realize good linebacker play is you don't have a good defense if you don't have good linebackers. You just don't. Like unless you have absolute terrors along the defensive line, your defense is bad if you have bad
Right.
linebackers. So I feel good about where this linebacker room is going into this season, and looking forward to seeing them be able to go out there and play free and really impact some games for Auburn.
I'm where you were last year, Ike.
Cautious
A
optimism.
cautious optimism. It's
Okay.
hard for me to say I feel good. And listen, you got to feel good about returning two of your starters from last year, right?
For
Right.
sure.
These are some of your biggest contributors. Obviously, You had Asante, the leading tackler of last season. Austin Keys expected to be kind of the captain back there. So those two guys returning has to be positive, right? Mousy coming in. My question is, how good will Mousy be coming off the bench? And can
Yeah,
those two guys stay healthy? Can Asante stay healthy? Can Key stay healthy? And if they're unable to stay healthy, how big is the drop off, right? And I think this is a
true.
concern most teams have with their linebacker room. When
Right,
your starters go out, how big is that drop off? Can Mousy come in and the production, you don't even realize anyone went out, right? He's a
right,
senior, he's played a lot of games, had a lot of snaps. Woodyard, is he ready? Right?
right.
He lost some weight, was moving around pretty well this spring. Again, a
He looked like a safety out there,
completely
man.
different
Bro.
Woodyard this spring
Yeah,
compared to last spring. So there's
yeah,
some optimism there from me. I'm in wait and see mode with that room. Obviously, you got DJ Durkin coaching them up. He's done well with linebackers over the years, so they're in good hands. I'm just waiting to see it really come together this year with that room. You got some of the young guys out there. Again, that's the future, right?
yeah.
DJ Barber.
This is the linebacker room
Yeah.
for you guys that want to take a look at that. Like I said, Austin Keys Senior, Eugene Asante Senior, returning. That's a good core,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, in this defense, which is essentially 4-2-5. You got two guys there, Mike Will, linebackers that I think are a good core to be able to build around. And to your point, you added Mousy, who is a senior, played a lot of snaps at Duke, and I think he was a solid contributor on that team. I liked when I put his film on. I liked what I saw from
Yeah.
him. And then you were just getting into it. DeMarcus Riddick, DJ Barber, the freshman in there, both of those guys. DJ Barber is a football player,
Yeah.
bro. Right? Like he is a ball player that I
He's
think
an under the
is
radar guy who
just
I think is really going to be good for this room.
he's of the mold of those guys that you just really want to just kind of have on your team, anchoring a defense that's going to be out there. He's a plugger. Like he's going to really be there on those third and short, fourth and short situations, downhill, making football plays. I liked him. DeMarcus Riddick is just a physical freak all over the field. He reminds me a lot of, and I almost hate to say this because I was not the biggest fan of his production at Auburn. A lot of it had to do with injuries, but he reminds me a lot of Owen Papo,
Okay.
right? Just like physically, he's there. He's got all the stuff you need to be a dominant SEC linebacker, could really play safety with his build kind of guy,
Yeah.
right? He just needs to be able to have a little bit more contribution on a consistent basis. But again, Papo injuries had a lot to do with that. He was there during some of the worst coaching situations in Auburn, right? So a lot of turnover at a lot of the D coordinators during his time. So it's not all his fault, but but then you got, like I said, Robert Woodyard, who I love the transformation that he's done physically, and looking forward to seeing him be able to go out there and put in some quality
Yeah.
snaps for this team.
Well, one of the things that again is another positive. Another positive. I'm in wait and see mode, right? But a positive is that you didn't lose a lot of production. We saw the list
For
of
sure.
who was gone. We can pull that back up again, Ike. I mean, you had Cam Riley, who actually transferred. I think he's at UCF now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't
I
remember where
think he may be at UC.
he was going to UNC. I mean, excuse me, he was going to NC
State. I think
State, and then
I think he might be at UCF now.
yeah, that sounds
Larry
about right.
Nixon graduated. He that may have been a lot of your production there from Larry Nixon. He did play quite a bit last year.
Hmm.
Steiner transferred. Jake Levant graduated. Powell Gordon, I remember he was picked up through. He was picked up during the Harsin era and
Hmm.
transferred. Rumored to come back, and I think he's now transferred again. So
Yeah, I don't even know if he ever actually came back. I didn't see him. Like he just kind of like disappeared into the ether. So I don't know what actually happened
he
with
was in
Powell.
a weird spot because he was kind of undersized to play
Yeah,
linebacker, um, or defensive end. It was weird. He was trying to find a spot for him was tough, and you're bringing in these guys, so he was going to get lost in the shuffle. But again, you're returning a lot of your production with Austin Keys and Eugene Asante there. So that is absolutely a good sign for this room. Again, you mentioned injuries. Again, you have to factor in the possibility of there being injuries. Who is the guy that you're looking from the bench to really have a big season this year, to be a contributor and add that much needed depth to that room, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, other than Mousy, who I think is going to be coming off the bench, I think he's going to be a guy that you can count on to know what's happening on the defense and be able to diagnose. Because things that you were talking about, the linebacker is really kind of, not kind of, is a quarterback out there, right? So you need to be able to know not just where you are supposed to be and where everybody else is supposed to be and how things are supposed to be happening within that front seven and getting people lined up. Mousy is a guy who can do that.
Mm.
He can get people where they need to be lined up, and I feel good about him being able to step in and be that Mike linebacker for the team. And then you got to look at Riddick and Woodyard as those next guys up that can give Eugene Asante a break out there, who can be downhill and speed. Because again, man, I cannot say enough how impressed I was with the way Robert Woodyard was moving around during the spring
It was
game.
encouraging.
I He made one tackle. I don't even remember what running back it was out in space that he went and got. Um, but I was just like, bro, in my mind, I'm like, who is this making this tackle? And when I saw the jersey number, I was like, whoa, wait, what? That can't be the same dude I saw struggling to get to a swing pass just 10, 11 months ago.
Yeah.
He was flying around out there, man. So
Oh,
the hype that he came in with, coupled with the new physique that he's out there flying around the field with, has me very excited about the prospects
do
of
you
Robert
think
Woodyard in the
he's just,
future.
I mean, we don't know, but do you speculate that maybe he just understands this system better and he's able to relax? And is it a year under his belt? Like what do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, I know he had an injury coming out of high school, and that was kind of part of the reason
Yeah.
why, he was not getting the considerations for scholarships from some places that he had once had in his junior season. And maybe it was just he wasn't healthy and he wasn't able to really get back into playing shape. And now that he's back in playing shape, he's back up to form. I don't know what the deal is, man. All I know is if he's as good as his junior season high school hype is, combined with that year of knowledge of just being a collegiate football player under his belt, he could be the next Eugene Asante for this defense, as a guy who just kind of out of nowhere pops up on the screen. Just every game you're seeing him make these physically wow plays where you're like, yo, this dude is flying out there.
Yeah.
That's the thing I love about Asante, man. Like, not just the enthusiasm and the less work and all this stuff. When bro puts his foot in the ground and gets to it, he is there. Like, and I that's what I see. That's what I saw in Woodyard. And it's a drastic difference from what I've seen from him before. When he puts his foot in the ground and he gets to it, he's there and he's arriving with bad intentions. Love seeing that from linebackers, man. So he could be that next guy that's able to make that year over year leap, physically and making those wow plays on the
Yeah.
field.
Again, health is a key here. If they're able to stay healthy, I'm excited. I will be excited. I think with us having six guys back there, and we saw how we kind of struggled at times with injuries last year from that room. Those guys got to stay healthy in year one
Yeah.
of Durkin installing his defense for sure. Uh,
Yeah, health, to your point, I think is the biggest issue for this group. Asante didn't have a bunch of health concerns, but he was playing a lot of. He was looking winded out
yeah,
there in some games because he was having to play a lot of snaps because of the lack of depth. And then, of course, Austin Keys was hurt for a large portion of the front half of the season, um, and so he wasn't able to really contribute a lot. And they don't play the same position, but like when you got to that next level, man, listen, Nixon was hurt a lot last season, right, in his final season, so he wasn't out there able to be 100%. Um, Cam Riley didn't really prove to be a reliable guy like you would want to. And then, listen, we've talked about it a lot. Wesley Steiner just wasn't there how he needed to be. And hopefully Washington State's a new start for him. He goes out there and he balls out at Wazoo and he's able to do his thing because physically he's
Yeah.
a guy who he's got all the speed. He's got the ability to really like deliver on as far as tackling. It's just he wasn't where he was supposed to be a lot. And he was missing tackles when he was getting to the spot that he was supposed to be. So hopefully these other guys that we're talking about, the DeMarcus Riddicks, the DJ Barbers, the Robert Woodyards, they'll be able to supply some additional depth in that linebacker room that will really allow that defensive front that I think is actually a little underrated going into this season. Now that I've looked at some tape on some guys, I'm like, this defensive front could be very interesting as far as the depth is concerned.
Yeah.
Um, if those linebackers are able to play with freedom, with the speed that they have as a group, right? Because that's a fast group. When you talk about Eugene Asante, Robert Woodyard, DeMarcus Riddick, that's a fast group of
They can fly.
linebackers that are
They can
really
cover a
out
lot of
there.
ground.
Yeah, man. So if they're able, if they don't have to navigate offensive linemen because the defensive line is gobbling up blocks up front, or they're having to double team guys up front because guys are winning one-on-one too often, and those linebackers are able to just diagnose and get downhill, you could have a problem on your hands with Auburn's defense this coming season because again, they have the physical ability to go and do it, right? Like it's not just, the opportunity presents itself, but I don't have the ability to get there. Now these guys can get there and they can get there in a hurry. So I'm looking forward to seeing the how successful that defensive line is going to determine how good these guys can be, though, because if they're able to free flow, they're going to be wrecking some game plans consistently.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. And you already mentioned DeMarcus Riddick as kind of the freshman that you expect to kind of contribute this year. Do you expect him to get his red shirt burned?
He was a guy I think that was on the fence for me.
Okay.
He was on the fence for me just because I like what I saw from Robert Woodyard that much that I thought maybe Riddick would be, I don't know, right? Like he might have to redshirt a season just because if Austin Keys stays healthy, he's gonna be on the field, right? Just because I think he's more of a quarterback on that defense. If Eugene Asante is healthy, he's going to be on the field. So when you rotate guys off, I think the next guys up are Mousy and Woodyard. And so I don't know where the snaps come in for Riddick, but from a talent perspective, I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think DeMarcus Riddick is ready to go right now and go out there and
Yeah,
play.
for sure.
I just think that the other guys have a little bit more on the field experience that might, and they're not lacking in talent either. So I think that they have the opportunity to play a little bit more. For full episodes, make sure you head over to the War Report's YouTube channel and check out the Weekend Tailgate. Every Sunday, we're going live. Join us on the live stream at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Until the next time, War Eagle.